LaShonda Williams rose from her seat, a single mother raising two children who holds down dual employment in South Central Los Angeles, laboring 6 days weekly for 60 hours total. Her palms were trembling, yet her vocal cords remained steady as she addressed Ms. Waters, lifting a single sheet of documents into the air. I am currently employed in 2 different positions, working as a cashier at Target during daylight hours and sanitizing corporate offices after dark. This schedule demands 60 hours of my time every single week, she stated clearly. Maxine Waters remained seated on the platform, wearing a tailored designer suit and costly jewelry, sporting that rehearsed grin common among career politicians. "I hear what you are saying, sister, and I recognize the hardship," she claimed. But LaShonda's tone increased in volume. "My lease payments just rose once more, and I can hardly purchase food for my offspring while living from one paycheck to the next inside your specific district." Waters bobbed her head in agreement, stating, "That is the reason I battle for laboring families every single day within Congress." "Then kindly explain to me how you managed to afford a mansion worth $6 million. The recreation center erupted with noise, featuring applause and shouting as attendees rose up, giving voice to years of pent-up irritation. Waters attempted to change the subject, waving her hand in a discarding motion, claiming that is a disgusting misrepresentation of the facts. "It is a matter of public record," LaShonda insisted, while displaying the tax paperwork, showing a $6 million value in Hancock Park. "That location is not even situated within this district, meaning you do not actually reside here." The crowd shouted even louder, proving this was not scripted, but rather genuine fury from actual people she represented. From the rear of the packed room, a different voice cut through the noise, calm yet resolute, saying, "I would like to hear that answer too." Every head rotated, and camera lenses pivoted to lock onto a man standing in the final row of chairs. It was J.D. Vance, the senator from Ohio, and author of Hillbilly Elegy, a Marine Corps veteran aged 40 years. He wore a relaxed blazer without a necktie, standing shoulder to shoulder with ordinary folks. Audibly sharp breaths and whispers circulated, asking what he was doing there, while the smile completely vanished from Waters' face. "Senator Vance, this is a community gathering for the residents I serve, and they invited me," she stated. He signaled to the people surrounding him, noting that local shopkeepers, educators, and parents had asked him to come. They desired someone who comprehends destitution, meaning actual poverty, not the variety you discuss during television appearances. He began walking forward down the walkway, and the audience parted ways to allow him passage. "I grew up poor, Congresswoman, in Middletown, Ohio, where my mama raised me because my mother was on drugs. We lived in poverty, the real kind that your constituents are living in right now." He reached the front and stood with LaShonda and the people, stating, "So I am curious as well. How does a person representing one of the poorest districts in America afford a $6 million mansion while your constituents cannot afford rent?" Waters looked trapped, as this was supposed to be her town hall, her district, and her people under her control. But the room was turning against her in favor of him. "Maybe you should explain it to us, Congresswoman, and explain it to LaShonda, who works 60 hours a week and cannot make rent while you live in a mansion." This was clearly going to be a long night for Maxine Waters. Drop a fire emoji if you know someone who gets rich off poor people staying poor. The community center in South Central LA was packed, with 400 people crammed into a space meant for 200, standing room only. There was an overflow crowd outside watching on screens, and this was not a normal constituent meeting. This was 33 years of frustration finally exploding. Waters had held town halls before, always carefully managed with friendly questions, softball topics, applause lines, and photo ops. The usual political theater was absent tonight, because tonight was different, since J.D. Vance was there. The local groups had invited him, including small business owners who had lost everything in the 2020 riots. Charter school teachers fighting for resources and parents desperate for change were there, alongside young people ready to leave, because there was no future here. They had reached out to Vance asking why him, and the answer was because he understood. He had written about it, escaping poverty and breaking the cycle, detailing the struggle of working-class America. Because he was not afraid to tell the truth about career politicians, about the poverty industry, and about people who get rich off keeping others poor. Waters could not refuse his presence, since it was a public event open to all. The media was there, including CNN cameras and local news, so she had to let him in. But she had not expected this, specifically that her own constituents would turn on her. She had not expected the anger to be this raw. The contrast was striking and visible to everyone in the room. Waters, 86 years old and in Congress since 1991, represented this district for 33 years, wearing designer clothes with professional hair and makeup. She was sitting on stage behind a table like a queen on a throne. Vance, a 40-year-old first-term senator in casual clothes, was standing in the back with regular people looking like he belonged there. Because he did belong, having been them, poor, struggling, and fighting to survive. The crowd could feel it and see it, knowing one of them was authentic while the other was performing. LaShonda still stood at the microphone waiting for an answer, with the $6 million question literally hanging in the air. Waters finally spoke, saying, "My personal finances are my business, and what matters is my work for this community." "Your work?" asked an elderly black man who stood up, probably 70 years old. "I have lived here since 1980 and voted for you every time for 45 years in this neighborhood. What is better now than it was in 1991 when you got elected? Name one thing." Waters tried her standard lines, claiming we have brought federal funding, created programs, and fought for resources. "Programs?" The man's voice shook with emotion. "I do not see programs. I see homeless people everywhere. I see businesses shut down. I see kids dropping out of school. And I see nothing getting better." The crowd erupted with applause and shouts of agreement, as years of false promises were finally being called out. Vance stepped forward saying, "Congresswoman, if I may, I think what your constituents are trying to say is they want results. Not programs, not promises, but results. And after 33 years, they are not seeing them." He turned to address the whole room, not Waters, but the people. "I am J.D. Vance, Senator from Ohio, and I grew up in Middletown, a Rust Belt town with dying steel mills. We had a drug epidemic and poverty, so I get it. My mama raised me because my mom couldn't, since she was addicted to drugs and couldn't hold a job. She couldn't hold our lives together, so my grandmother stepped in. We had nothing, relying on food stamps, charity, and hand-me-downs. We lived in poverty, the kind of poverty that crushes your soul, makes you feel worthless, and makes you want to give up." The room was silent, listening, because he wasn't giving a speech, he was telling his truth. "But I got out, and you know how, because I joined the Marines and served in Iraq. I came home and used my GI Bill to go to college at Ohio State, and then Yale Law School. I escaped. I broke the cycle, and I made it." He paused and looked around at the faces, his people, his tribe, just born in different places. "And you know what I learned? That poverty isn't permanent. The cycle can be broken, and the American dream still works if you have the right policies. You need the right opportunities and the right leaders. He turned back to Waters, saying, "But you need leaders who actually want you to succeed, not leaders who profit from keeping you poor." And that is what tonight is about. Accountability, results, and truth are the focus. Waters looked furious, but she couldn't leave because her constituents were watching and the cameras were rolling. She was trapped. "So let's start with the mansion, Congresswoman. Explain it to us." The battle was on, and Vance pulled out his phone to project images on the screen behind Waters. Property records and public information appeared, showing the left side with a mansion worth $6 million. It was in Hancock Park, a gated community with manicured lawns, 6,000 square feet, security guards, and luxury cars in the driveway. The right side showed Central LA, her district, the district she represented. Homeless encampments, boarded-up buildings, trash in the streets, graffiti, and decay were visible. "This is where you live," he said, pointing to the mansion, "and this is who you represent," pointing to the district photos. How do you reconcile that? Waters bristled, saying, "I have every right to live where I choose, because this is America." "Of course you do. Nobody is questioning your right. We are questioning your judgment. We question your morality and your ability to represent people whose lives you don't share." He pulled up a map showing Hancock Park to South Central is 15 miles, but might as well be 15,000. Because they are different worlds, with your neighborhood median home price at $3 million and median income at $200,000. Crime rate near zero, top-rated schools, beautiful parks, and safe streets characterize your area. Your district has a median home price of $450,000 and a median income of $35,000. It has one of the highest crime rates in California, failing schools, and homeless everywhere. He looked at her directly, asking, "Do you shop in this district or eat in restaurants here? Do you walk the streets here or send your grandchildren to schools here?" Waters tried to respond, saying, "I have security concerns." "Exactly. You are not safe here in the district you represent, the district you have represented for 33 years. You are not safe in your own district, and that tells us everything we need to know. You have been in charge for 33 years, and it is still not safe, still not prosperous, still not a place where even you would choose to live." The crowd murmured, realizing they got it, that she wouldn't live among them because their neighborhood wasn't good enough. But she had been in charge of making it better and failed. "Let's talk about the money, Congresswoman, because the math doesn't add up." Vance pulled up financial documents showing a congressional salary of $174,000 per year. You have been in Congress since 1991, which is 33 years total. Salary before taxes is roughly $5.7 million, but you live in a $6 million house. Your net worth, according to your financial disclosures, is approximately $6 million. After taxes, after living expenses, after everything, how did you accumulate that much wealth on a government salary? Waters looked defensive, claiming my husband had a successful career. Your husband, Sidney Williams, was a former NFL player and car salesman. His career ended decades ago, so let's not pretend that explains a $6 million net worth. LaShonda spoke up again from the audience, saying, "I make $45,000 a year between two jobs. After rent, food, and utilities, I got nothing left, so how did you get $6 million? An older woman stood saying, "I have been a teacher for 30 years and made decent money. Still can't afford to buy a house in this district because rents went up and prices went up. I am 65 and still renting. So how did you buy a mansion? A young man in his 20s said, I got 2 college degrees, but can't find a good job in this district. Thinking about leaving LA and moving to Texas, maybe somewhere with opportunity. You got a mansion, and we got nothing, so how? The questions kept coming, her own constituents demanding answers. Vance let them speak, as this was their moment and their voices finally. He stepped forward again, saying, Here is what I think happened, and you tell me if I am wrong. You got elected in 1991, young and ambitious, representing a poor district. You figured out the game real quick, that poor districts are valuable in politics. You can promise them everything because they are desperate for help. They will vote for anyone who talks the right way and makes the right promises. And as long as they stay poor, they will keep voting for you because they are desperate. They need help, and they believe your promises. But if they actually succeeded, if the district got prosperous, then they wouldn't need you anymore, would they? They might vote for someone else, someone who offers them something different. So you have an incentive to keep them poor, keep them dependent, and keep them voting for you. And meanwhile, you get rich, and we will get to how that happens. But the pattern is clear. They stay poor, and you get rich. 33 years, same pattern, same result. He looked at the crowd asking, Am I wrong? Silence followed because he wasn't wrong, as they could see it and feel it. They had lived it for 33 years. Waters tried to speak, saying, This is outrageous, these attacks. These are facts. Your mansion is real. Your net worth is documented, and your district's poverty is visible. These aren't attacks. This is accountability. Would you send your grandchildren to schools here? Yes or no? She didn't answer. Would you feel safe walking these streets at night? Yes or no? No answer. Would you be satisfied if your kids grew up with the opportunities available in this district? Yes or no? Still or no answer. And your silence tells them everything they need to know. You wouldn't accept this for your family, but you expect them to accept it for theirs. That is not representation. That is exploitation. Vance pulled up data charts, statistics, and numbers that told a brutal story. Let's look at what has happened to this district during your 33 years in Congress. Real data, not promises, results. A chart appeared showing a timeline from 1991 to 2024. 1991. You get elected, and here is what the district looked like. 1991 data showed median household income at $28,000, adjusted for inflation to $62,000 today. Poverty rate, 18%. Unemployment, 8%. High school graduation rate, 65%. Violent crime rate high but declining. And homeless population, minimal. That was your starting point. Not great, but there was hope. You promised change, and you promised to fight for them. Here is 2024 after 33 years of your leadership. 2024 data shows median household income at $35,000, lower than 1991, adjusted for inflation. Poverty rate 25%, which is worse. Unemployment 12%, which is worse. High school graduation rate 58%, which is worse. Violent crime rate up 40% from 1991. Homeless population over 5,000, an epidemic. The room went silent, staring at the numbers. Every single metric is worse. Median income down, poverty up, unemployment up, graduation rates down, crime up. Homeless exploded. 33 years, 17 election cycles, and you have won every time. Made promises every time, and the district got worse every time. An older woman started crying because she had lived through it all, watched her neighborhood decay year after year, hoping it would get better, believing the promises, and it never did. What changed, Congresswoman? What actually got better? Waters tried to answer, saying, "We have brought billions in federal funding. Money isn't results. So where did that money go? What did it buy? Because I look at this data, and I don't see improvements." He pulled up another comparison, saying, "Let's look at other districts and compare them to yours." Texas Republican districts show income up 25% since 1991, poverty down 8%, and business growth up 40%. Florida districts with term limits and regular turnover of representatives show income up 20%, crime down 15%, and even California districts with new leadership elected after 2010 show mixed results, but some improvement. The pattern is clear. Districts with new leadership see some progress. Your district with the same leadership for 33 years has seen decline. The only constant is you, and the only thing that hasn't changed is you. And the result is failure. A middle-aged man stood up saying, "I grew up here and graduated Fremont High in 1995. Came back after college, wanted to teach here and give back. The school is worse now than when I was a student. Computers are old, books are falling apart, and no AC in summer. Kids drop out, teachers burn out. Nothing is better. Everything is worse. I have watched you promise change for 30 years. Where is it?" Young woman stood saying, "I am 28, born here, grew up here. Can't afford to stay here because rents are too high and no good jobs. I am moving to Arizona next month, and all my friends are leaving too. You have been in Congress my entire life, and things got worse. We are all leaving, and that is your legacy." Vance let them speak, story after story, person after person. 33 years of failure, 33 years of broken promises. 33 years of their lives wasted waiting for change that never came. Finally, he stepped forward saying, "Congresswoman Waters, can you name 3 things? Just 3 that are measurably better in your district because of your work. Not programs you started, not money you allocated, but results. Things that actually improved. 3 things." Waters tried saying the CARES Act funding we secured. That was federal pandemic money that went everywhere, not your accomplishment. "What in your district specifically?" he asked. "The community development grants," she replied, "but those are federal grants available to all districts." "What actually improved here?" "The affordable housing initiatives," she tried. "Homelessness is up, housing prices are up, and affordable housing is down. That is not an improvement. That is failure. You can't name 3 things because there aren't 3 things. 33 years, and you can't name 3 accomplishments." He turned to the crowd asking if you hired a contractor to fix your house. And after 33 years, nothing was fixed, and some things were worse. Would you keep paying them? No, you would fire them. If you had an employee who failed for 33 years straight, would you keep employing them? No. So why do you keep electing her? The question hung in the air. Why did they? I will tell you why. Because she promises you every 2 years that this time will be different. This time she will fight for you, and this time things will change. And you believe her because you are desperate, and you want to believe. You need help, but she never delivers. She can't deliver because she is part of the problem. 33 years of failure. The evidence is undeniable. Vance opened another folder saying, "Now let's talk about how you got that $6 million net worth. Because it is not just about the money, it is about where it came from." Documents appeared on screen including official records, news articles, and ethics investigations. 2008 financial crisis. Banks are failing. Economy collapsing. People losing homes. One bank is One United Bank, a small bank serving minority communities. It is failing, about to go under, and your husband, Sidney Williams, sits on the board. You and your husband have $350,000 worth of stock in this bank. The bank needs a bailout, needs the government to save it. And you, Congresswoman Waters, sit on the House Financial Services Committee, the committee that oversees bank bailouts. He let that sink in. You have personal financial stake in a failing bank, and you have power over whether it gets bailed out. Do you see the problem? Waters tried to defend, saying that was investigated and I was cleared. You arranged a meeting between Treasury officials and One United executives, used your position to get them special access while you had $350,000 at stake. One United got $12 million in bailout funds. Your investment was protected. You didn't lose your $350,000. The House Ethics Committee found you violated standards of conduct. You didn't recuse yourself. You used your position for personal benefit. But nothing happened to you. No real punishment, because you are protected. A construction worker stood up saying, I got audited by the IRS over $3,000, had to pay penalties and got threatened with jail time. She has $350,000 at stake, arranges a $12 million bailout, and nothing happens. That is the system. Different rules for us than for them. That is exactly the system, Vance said. Different rules. You cheat on your taxes by $3,000, you go to jail. She arranges a bailout for her family's benefit, she gets reelected. But it gets worse. Let's talk about your daughter. New documents appeared showing Karen Waters, your daughter. She runs a consulting company called Citizens for Waters. Your campaign pays her company for slate mailer services. Know how much since 2003? $1.2 million. The crowd gasped at the figure of $1.2 million. Let me explain the scheme. Your daughter's company produces slate mailers, which is a list of candidates you endorse. Other candidates pay your daughter to be on your list because your endorsement matters. Then your campaign pays your daughter to produce the mailers with donor money. So you profit twice. Once when candidates pay your daughter to be endorsed. Once when your campaign pays your daughter to make the mailers. That is legal technically because you wrote the laws, but it is corrupt. He pulled out a letter showing FEC complaints have been filed. Watchdog groups calling it family enrichment. But nothing happens. Because you are powerful, you are protected. A small business owner spoke up saying, I can't pay my daughter from my business unless she actually works there and earns it. But you can pay your daughter $1.2 million from campaign funds. I donated to your campaign $100, thinking it was going to help the community. It went to your daughter. Other voices chimed in saying, I donated too. Me too. We all did. Their money going to Waters' family while their district crumbled. Here is the math that doesn't work, Vance continued. Congressional salary, $174,000 per year for 33 years, roughly $5.7 million total before taxes. After income taxes, Social Security, and living expenses for 33 years. You should have maybe $1 to $2 million saved if you were frugal. But you have $6 million, and you bought a $6 million house. Your daughter got paid $1.2 million from your campaign. Where did all that money come from? He listed the sources. Bank bailout protected your $350,000. Daughter got $1.2 million from campaign. Husband's business dealings, speaking fees, all while representing one of the poorest districts in America. You lecture about corporate greed, about the wealthy exploiting the poor, about systemic inequality, but you are the one getting rich. You are the one exploiting the system. You are the inequality. You are not fighting the system. You are the system. Waters sat there, unable to defend herself, because he was right. The documents proved it. The pattern was undeniable. An elderly woman in the front row spoke quietly, but everyone heard her. My husband worked 40 years, saved everything we could, and died with $80,000 in the bank. That is what a working man leaves. You worked in Congress 33 years and got $6 million. That is not right. That is not fair. That is not honest. You got rich off us staying poor. The room erupted in applause because she had said what everyone was thinking. Vance let it sink in, then added one more thing. This is what a poverty pimp looks like. Someone who profits from poverty, who needs people to stay poor, so they can keep getting elected, keep getting donations, keep getting power. And you, Congresswoman Waters, are the textbook definition of a poverty pimp. Vance pulled up video from June 2018 showing Maxine Waters speaking at a rally. Let me show you something. Your own words. Her voice filled the room. If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd and you push back on them. And you tell them they are not welcome anymore anywhere. The video stopped. You said that publicly on camera, calling for people to harass Trump administration officials. Create a crowd. Push back on them. They are not welcome anywhere. That is incitement. That is calling for confrontation, for harassment, for intimidation. Waters tried to defend, saying I was calling for protest, First Amendment. You were calling for mob action. Create a crowd and push back. That is not peaceful protest. That is intimidation. And it worked. Trump officials got harassed in restaurants. Sarah Huckabee Sanders kicked out. Kirstjen Nielsen surrounded by protesters. Ted Cruz and his wife chased out of a restaurant. Your words led to action, harassment, threats, intimidation. He pulled up more footage. Summer 2020. George Floyd killed. Protests nationwide, then riots. Minneapolis burned. Portland burned. Chicago, Seattle, New York, Los Angeles. Your district burned. Footage showed South Central LA during the riots. Businesses on fire. Looting. Destruction. Chaos. Your constituents' businesses destroyed. Their livelihoods gone. Their community vandalized. What did you say? Let me show you another video. Waters speaking, saying protests are supposed to make people uncomfortable. Your district was burning, and you said protests are supposed to make people uncomfortable. Businesses destroyed, jobs lost, people's life savings gone up in smoke. And you defended it. A man stood up shaking with emotion, saying, I owned a corner store 20 years. My father opened it in 1985 and I took it over. Served this community and employed 5 people. May 2020, riots came. They looted my store and burned it. Everything gone. Insurance wouldn't cover it all. I lost everything. I called your office, begged for help, never heard back. You were on TV talking about protests being uncomfortable. My life burned down, and you called it uncomfortable. I had to close. My employees lost their jobs, stores still empty 3 years later. His voice broke, asking, where were you when we needed you? When our neighborhood was burning? Other business owners stood up, story after story. Businesses destroyed, never rebuilt. Insurance rates skyrocketed. Many couldn't afford to reopen. The district lost 30% of its small businesses in the 2020 riots, Vance said. 30% gone, and you never condemned the violence. Never fought for them. Just made excuses. In fact, you encouraged it. Protests are supposed to make people uncomfortable. Well, they got very uncomfortable and you didn't care. Waters tried to respond saying, I have always condemned violence. Show me one statement where you condemn the riots in your district. One press release, one interview. Show me. She couldn't, because she hadn't. She had made excuses, defended the protests, blamed Trump, blamed police, never condemned the violence in her own backyard. You incite, you inflame, you divide. And when the consequences come, when businesses burn, when people lose everything, you blame someone else. That is not leadership. That is arson, political arson. You light the fire, then walk away while your constituents burn. A teacher spoke up saying, we used to teach kids that violence is never the answer. That peaceful protest is American. That destroying property is wrong. Then 2020 happened, and you told us riots were uncomfortable. What am I supposed to tell my students? That burning buildings is okay if you are mad? You are supposed to be a role model, a leader. Instead, you are encouraging violence, and we are the ones who suffer for it. Vance nodded, saying 3 years later, businesses still closed, jobs still lost, insurance rates still high, investments dried up. Who wants to open a business in a district that might burn again? You created that environment with your rhetoric and your excuses, your refusal to condemn violence, and your constituents paid the price, while you sat in your $6 million mansion 15 miles away, safe, protected, far from the fires. Vance took a breath. This was personal now. Time to share his truth. Congresswoman Waters, let me tell you about poverty. Real poverty. Not the kind you talk about in speeches, the kind you live. His voice changed, got raw, emotional, real. I grew up in Middletown, Ohio, a small town with dying steel mills, rust belt decay, Appalachian values, working class people. My people. My mom couldn't raise me. She was addicted to drugs, pills, heroin, couldn't hold a job, couldn't keep our family together. In and out of rehab, in and out of relationships, chaos. So my mama raised me, my grandmother, toughest woman I ever knew, Bonnie Vance. She had grown up even poorer than me. Kentucky Depression, real Appalachian poverty. She saved me, took me in, gave me structure, discipline, love. The room was silent, listening. This wasn't a political speech. This was his life. We had nothing. Food stamps, Medicaid, hand-me-down clothes. Lived in a small house. Sometimes the heat got cut off in winter. Sometimes we couldn't afford groceries. I watched people I loved destroy themselves with drugs. Watched families fall apart. Watched kids I grew up with drop out, get addicted, go to jail, die young. That is poverty, not the statistics, not the theory. The reality, the day-to-day struggle of having nothing and seeing no way out. He paused, looked around the room at faces that knew exactly what he meant. I was angry. Angry at the world. Angry at the system. Angry that I had been born into this. That this was my life. But my mama taught me something. She said, you can be angry or you can do something, but you can't do both. So I did something. I joined the Marines right out of high school. Needed discipline? purpose, a way out. Served in Iraq, public affairs, saw real poverty there too, real suffering. Made me appreciate America. Made me realize we have opportunity here if you fight for it. Came home, used my GI Bill, went to Ohio State, worked my ass off. Then got into Yale Law School. Me, a kid from Middletown, Yale. I remember my first day there surrounded by kids from Manhattan, from California, from prep schools, from money. They had never known poverty, never worried about food, never had heat cut off. They couldn't even imagine my childhood. But I had made it. I had escaped. Broke the cycle. Proved it could be done. His voice got stronger. I graduated, worked in tech, made money. Wrote a book about my story. Hillbilly Elegy became a bestseller, millions of copies. I could have gone anywhere, done anything, lived in San Francisco, New York, LA. Made millions, forgotten where I came from, but I didn't. I went back to Ohio, ran for Senate, won because I wanted to fight for people like me. People who grew up like I did. People who are still struggling. I live in Cincinnati in a normal neighborhood. My kids will go to public schools. I shop at Kroger. I live among the people I represent. He turned to Waters, saying, "You know why I did that. Because you can't represent people you don't live among. You can't fight for people whose lives you don't share. You can't understand poverty from a mansion." The contrast was stark, undeniable. I lived poverty. You exploited. I escaped poverty. You profit from people staying poor. I went back to serve my people. You ran away to your mansion. I know the struggle. You know the game. His voice rose, passionate, angry, real. You've been in Congress 33 years. These people are still poor, still struggling, still suffering. Nothing's changed. Nothing's better. You know why. Because you need them to stay poor. If they succeed, they don't need you. If they prosper, they might vote for someone else. If they escape poverty like I did, you lose your power base. So you keep them dependent, keep them voting for you, keep them believing your promises, while you get richer and richer. That is not public service. That is a con, a scam, a betrayal. He looked at the crowd, his voice softer now, but intense. I am proof the American dream works. You can escape poverty, you can break the cycle, you can make it. But it only works if you have the right policies, the right opportunities, the right leaders. And they don't have that. They have you. Someone who has failed them for 33 years. Someone who has gotten rich off their suffering. Someone who lives in a mansion while they can't afford rent. I look at these people and I see my mama, my mom, my neighbors growing up. People who deserved better, who worked hard, who never got a fair shake. They remind me why I am in politics. To fight for them, to give them opportunity to help them escape like I did. But you keep them trapped for your own benefit, for your own power, for your own wealth. I escaped poverty. You created a career profiting from it. And that, he said quietly, is the difference between us. The room exploded, standing ovation, tears, emotion. He had said what they had felt for decades, but couldn't articulate. He wasn't attacking from privilege. He was one of them. Had been, them still remembered, still cared. Waters sat there, no response. What could she say? His story was real. His authenticity was obvious. His moral authority was absolute. She had been exposed by someone who actually understood, who had actually lived it, who had actually escaped what she had been exploiting for 33 years. Vance stepped back, saying, "I have said enough. Time to hear from the people who matter. The people she is supposed to represent. The people She has failed. If you have a story, stand up. Tell her, tell America, tell the truth. For a moment, silence. Then people started standing, one by one. Then dozens, then half the room. They had stories, 33 years of stories. A young mother stepped to the microphone, trembling but determined. My name is Kesha. I am 29, born and raised here. Single mom, 2 kids, 6 and 4. I work full-time receptionist, make $38,000 a year after taxes. That is like $30,000 take-home rent is $1,800 a month. That is $21,600 a year, more than half my income just for rent. Then food, childcare, utilities, gas, I got nothing left. I am 1 paycheck from homeless, 1 emergency from broke. My kids go to Jordan High. It is terrible. No books broken. Computers, teachers, burnout, violence, gangs recruiting in hallways. I voted for you every time, believed you would help us. Believed you would make it better. It got worse. My rent went up. Schools got worse. Neighborhood got more dangerous. Nothing you promised came true. I am thinking about leaving, moving out of state Texas, maybe Florida. Somewhere I can afford, somewhere my kids can get educated. But I shouldn't have to leave my home. This is my city, my neighborhood. I should be able to make it here. You have been in Congress my whole life, literally, my whole life. And things got worse. How is that possible? She started crying, asking, where were you? Where have you been? Waters tried to respond, started to speak, but don't. Keisha's voice got hard, saying, don't give me excuses. Don't give me promises. I have heard them all for years. Nothing changes. You failed me. You failed my kids. You failed this whole community. She walked away from the microphone, sat down. Others stood up. An older black man, probably 65, Vietnam vet jacket. Marcus Johnson served in Vietnam, came back here, been here 55 years. Watched this neighborhood change, not for better, for worse. Used to have thriving businesses, black-owned stores, restaurants, barbershops, community. Now homeless everywhere, businesses closed, drugs, violence. It is dying. You have been our representative, 33 years. What you done, what actually got better. I voted for you. My wife voted for you. My kids voted for you. 3 generations. Why? What did we get? You got a mansion. We got nothing. He shook his head, disappointed. Sad. I fought for this country, came home to this. This is what we get. Next to teacher, middle-aged black woman, looked exhausted. Denise Carter. I teach at Fremont High, been teaching 25 years right here in this district. I love teaching, love my students. They are smart, talented, capable. But we got nothing. No resources, no support, no supplies. Classes of 40 kids, not enough desks, textbooks from 2005. No AC and 90-degree heat bathrooms don't work. I spend my own money on supplies, buy pencils, paper books. All teachers do. Because district won't. Where is the money? Where is the federal funding you are always talking about? Every year you promise better schools. Every year we get less. Teachers quit, students drop out. It is a disaster. And you live in a $6 million mansion while I am buying pencils with my paycheck. That makes sense to you? Another man, young, maybe 25, tattoos, looking like he had seen some things. Darius. I am a former gang member, grew up in this neighborhood, joined a gang at 14, sold drugs, got shot, been to jail. Trying to go straight now for 3 years, it is hard. No jobs here, applied everywhere, nothing. Can't even get hired at McDonald's with my record. So what am I supposed to do? I got bills, got a kid, need money. You talk about opportunity. Where is it? Where are the jobs? Where is the second chance? I am trying, really trying, but this district makes it impossible. Some of my boys went back to gangs, can't blame them. No other option. You have been in charge 33 years. Gang problem, worse, drug problem, worse, jail, pipeline still running. What you actually done, story after story, testimony after testimony, different ages, different backgrounds, same theme. She promised she didn't deliver things got worse. She got richer. An elderly woman, late 70s, spoke softly, but everyone listened. I am Mrs. Patterson. I have lived here since 1962. 62 years, raised 5 children here, buried my husband here. This used to be a good neighborhood. People knew each other, looked out for each other. Had pride, it is gone, all of it. Homeless camps where parks used to be, drugs where schools used to be. Safe fear where there used to be community. I have voted for you since you first ran. Why? Because you promised to fight for us, to make it better, to bring us up. But you didn't. Nothing got better, everything got worse. And I learned something: you can't help us because you don't live here. You don't know us. You don't feel what we feel. You live in your mansion. We live in this. You are safe. We are not. You are rich. We are poor. How can you represent us if you won't even live among us? She looked at Waters with something like pity. I am 79 years old. Probably die here. This is my home. But my grandchildren, they are leaving, all of them, moving to other states, looking for opportunity, looking for hope. That is your legacy. You drove away our children, our future, our hope. You should be ashamed. Waters sat there, tears in her eyes, real or performative, didn't matter. The damage was done. Her own constituents had turned on her. Her own voters had rejected her. Her own people had called her out. Vance had barely said anything in this round, didn't need to. They had spoken their truth, their pain, their anger. 33 years of failure, testified to by dozens of people on camera, on the record. Undeniable, devastating, true. Vance walked to the center of the room, everyone watching, waiting. Time for the final word. I want to thank everyone who spoke tonight that took courage, real courage, to stand up, to tell your truth, to demand accountability. You have made something clear, something undeniable, something that needs to be said out loud. He turned to Waters, saying, Congresswoman, you are a poverty pimp. The room went silent, that phrase hanging in the air. A poverty pimp is someone who profits from other people's poverty, who needs people to stay poor so they can keep making money off them, who exploits suffering for personal gain. That is you. He started listing the evidence. 33 years representing one of the poorest districts in California. Every metric got worse. Poverty, up income, down crime, up graduation, down homeless, everywhere. But you got richer, started with maybe 500,000 net worth, now 6 million. While they got poorer, you live in a $6 million mansion they can't afford rent. You arranged a bailout for your husband's bank, protected your $350,000 investment. While they lost their homes in the financial crisis, your daughter got $1.2 million from your campaign. Their donations, their $25 and $50 contributions went to your family. You incited violence, get in their faces, create a crowd, then their district burned. Their businesses destroyed, and you called it uncomfortable. You don't even live in your district, won't even sleep in your district. It is not good enough for you, but you expect them to accept it. They stay poor. You get rich. They suffer. You profit. They are trapped. You are free. That is the definition of a poverty pimp. His voice rose, passionate, angry, real. You don't want them to succeed. You can't let them succeed. Because if they did, they wouldn't need you. They wouldn't vote for you. You would lose power, so you keep them dependent. Keep them desperate. Keep them believing your promises while you get richer and richer off their suffering. You have an incentive to keep them poor, an incentive to keep them struggling, an incentive to keep them trapped, because poverty is your business model. Their pain is your profit. He pointed at the crowd, at the people. They know it. They have lived it for 33 years. They have watched you promise and fail, promise and fail, promise and fail. And meanwhile, you got richer, your family got richer, your life got better, while theirs got worse. That is not representation, that is exploitation. That is not public service, that is theft. That is not leadership, that is betrayal. Waters tried to respond, stood up saying, "These attacks are—" "Sit down." Vance's voice cut like a knife, Marine command voice authority. "Your time to talk is over. You have had 33 years to talk, to promise, to explain, to excuse. Now it is time to answer. It is time for accountability. It is time for truth." Waters sat down stunned. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that. Here is what is going to happen. These people, your constituents, are going to vote in the next election, and the election after that, and they are going to remember tonight. Remember your mansion while they can't afford rent. Remember your wealth while they struggle. Remember your daughter's $1.2 million while they donated their last $25. They are going to remember you calling riots uncomfortable while their businesses burned. Remember you living 15 miles away while they live in decay. Remember 33 years of promises that never came true. And they are going to make a choice. Keep you or choose change. I think I know what they will choose. He addressed the crowd directly. You have power. You have always had power. The power to vote. The power to choose. The power to demand better. Don't accept this. Don't accept career politicians who get rich off your suffering. Don't accept leaders who won't live among you. Don't accept 33 years of failure. Demand better. Vote for people who actually live in your district, who send their kids to your schools, who shop in your stores, who share your struggles. Vote for people who want you to succeed, who celebrate your prosperity, who have no incentive to keep you poor. The American dream still works. I am proof I escaped poverty. You can too. But you need the right policies, the right opportunities, the right leaders. And she ain't it. He looked at Waters one final time, saying, "Congresswoman, you should resign. You failed for 33 years repeatedly, consistently, undeniably. But you won't resign, too proud, too entitled, too addicted to power. So they will have to vote you out, and I think they will. Because tonight, the poverty pimp has been exposed, and once people see the truth, they can't unsee it. Your time is over." The town hall ended in chaos, not violence, but emotion, anger, hope. Years of frustration finally released. Waters tried to give closing remarks. The crowd booed her own constituents, booing her. In her own district, she gave up, walked off stage, left through a side exit. Security escorting her couldn't face the people. Vance stayed, talked to residents, shook hands, listened to stories, connected, like he had been doing all night. The footage went viral within hours. Poverty pimp exposed. J.D. Vance destroys Maxine Waters. Constituents turn on Waters. Not just conservative media, everyone covered it. Because it was her own voters in her own district calling her out, with her own words, her own record, her own failures. CNN couldn't spin it. MSNBC struggled. Even friendly outlets had to acknowledge she had been demolished by facts. By her own constituents, by a Marine veteran from Ohio who understood poverty better than she ever would. The clips that went most viral, "You are a poverty pimp." Residents testifying about her failures, her mansion versus their district visual contrast. "I lived it, you exploit it," her unable to defend herself. Within a week, a primary challenger announced local business owner actually lived in the district. Grassroots support fed up with Waters. Joe Collins, Black Republican Marine veteran, small business owner born and raised in South Central. "I am running because our community deserves better, deserves someone who lives here. Who cares? Who will actually fight for us, not for themselves." Vance endorsed him, sent money, sent support. He is the real deal. He understands poverty. He lives in the community. He cares, that is who should represent them. Donations poured in, not from millionaires, from regular people. $10, $25, $50, people who had heard about the town hall, who had seen the videos, who wanted change. The Democratic Party establishment panicked. Waters had been there since 1991, safe seat, never seriously challenged. Now real possibility of losing. They tried to defend her attack on a black woman Republican interference. The usual playbook didn't work because her own constituents were attacking her. Black voters in her own district weren't buying it. The movement spread other districts, other career politicians, other poverty pimps getting challenged. People realized, we don't have to accept this. We don't have to keep electing people who fail us. We have power. We can demand better. Vance became a hero, not just to conservatives, to working-class Americans everywhere. Black, white, Hispanic didn't matter. He had spoken their truth. Hillbilly from Ohio went to LA and told the truth. They had been waiting 33 years to hear. His book sales exploded again. His influence grew. He represented something powerful, authentic working-class voice. Someone who had lived it, who remembered, who cared. 6 months later, the primary happened, Waters versus Collins. It was close, too close for a 33-year incumbent. She won, but barely 52 to 48. She had survived, but everyone knew she was wounded, vulnerable, exposed. And next election might not make it. The poverty pimp had been put on notice. Change was coming. Maybe not fast enough. Maybe not today, but coming. Because the truth had been spoken, the pattern had been exposed, the accountability had been demanded. And once people see the truth, they can't unsee it. The American dream still worked. Vance was proof. Poverty could be escaped. Success was possible, but you needed the right leaders. Leaders who wanted you to succeed. Leaders who lived among you. Leaders who remembered where they came from. Not career politicians who got rich off your suffering. Not poverty pimps who profited from your pain. The tide was turning slowly, but turning. And it started with one town hall, one Marine veteran, one night of truth. In South Central Los Angeles, in the heart of poverty. In the district of a poverty pimp, the reckoning had come. J.D. Vance went to Los Angeles to Maxine Waters' district and told the truth. He didn't go to debate, didn't go to grandstand, went to support the people. The residents, the constituents who had been failed for 33 years. And they told their truth about poverty, about failure, about broken promises, about a representative who got rich while they stayed poor. The poverty pimp was exposed on camera by her own people. With her own record, 33 years in Congress district got worse, she got richer. Pattern undeniable lives in a $6 million mansion, they can't afford rent. Daughter paid $1.2 million from campaign funds, they donated their last $25. Arranged bailout for husband's bank, they lost their homes. Incited violence, their businesses burned. That is not representation, that is exploitation, that is a poverty pimp. If you believe career politicians who get rich off poverty should be voted out, share this story. If you think representatives should actually live in their districts, share this everywhere. If you believe the American dream still works, but we need better leaders, share this now. If you have seen poverty pimps in your area, Democrat or Republican, getting rich while constituents suffer, share this and demand accountability. Fire equals poverty. Pimps must go scale equals accountability for all career politicians. Muscle equals working class. First, United States flag equals American dream still works. Share this video, tag people in your area dealing with poverty pimps. Make them watch. Make them see, because there are Maxine Waters in every state. Every city career, politicians who have been in office for decades, who have gotten rich while their constituents stayed poor. Time to identify them, challenge them, vote them out. J.D. Vance proved something important. You can escape poverty. The American dream still works. Success is possible. But you need the right policies, the right opportunities, the right leaders. Leaders who remember where they came from, who live among the people they represent, who actually want their constituents to succeed, not leaders who profit from poverty, who need people to stay poor, who get rich off suffering. The movement is growing. South Central LA was just the beginning. Other districts are watching, other constituents are waking up, other challenges are coming. This is bigger than Maxine Waters, bigger than one district, bigger than one election. This is about taking back our country from career politicians, from poverty pimps, from people who have forgotten who they serve. We have power, the power to vote, the power to choose. The power to demand better use. Research your representatives. How long have they been in office? What has improved? Are they rich while you struggle? Do they live in your district, if not primary? Then find someone better, someone local, someone who cares, someone who will actually serve instead of profit. Joe Collins is running against Waters. Support him, donate, volunteer, spread the word. And find the Joe Collins in your district, the local businessman, the teacher, the veteran, the person who actually lives there, who actually cares, who will actually work for you. Support them, elect them, give them a chance, because 33 years of failure is enough. 33 years of empty promises is enough. 33 years of poverty, pimps getting rich is enough. Time for change, real change, not politician. Promises, real people, real representation, real results. J.D. Vance showed us how. Go to their districts, tell the truth, support the people, demand accountability, and vote out the poverty pimps. Share this story. Make it viral. Let every career politician know we are watching. We are documenting. We are demanding accountability. The American dream still works. Vance proved it. You can escape poverty, you can succeed, you can make it. But you need leaders who want that for you, who celebrate your success, who have no incentive to keep you poor. Vote for those leaders and vote out the poverty pimps. Starting now, share this video tag. 3 people post everywhere. The reckoning has begun.